Friends, today we have two amazing guests in the studio, Dmitry Razumovsky and Yuri Khvan. Both are masters in business. Everyone who has joined the screen now, stop and spend this time trying to find answers for yourself. Because what you hear will be extremely important to you. Yuri Khvan is a specialist in the field of creating an additional reality, the very reality. That is extremely important now in business, and not only in business. In the everyday reality that surrounds us, it is everywhere. We don't notice her. For example, when we listen to music with headphones, it's already an additional reality. But the opportunities that artificial intelligence opens up now, connecting you, is an incredible opportunity. That will allow us to develop and be successful in this world. Well, Dmitry Razumovsky captured my attention once when I came to the business forum, primarily with those insiders who are extremely important to us in the field of cryptocurrencies, because it makes us free, and not only. But let the guests tell about it themselves. So for the presentation, you are given 5 minutes each, and after that we start a conversation with you, Dmitry Razumovsky. You start first. Please. Friends, I started my journey a long time ago, about 18-19 years ago. I had a dream of becoming a dollar millionaire. That is, if you were not born into a family of millionaires, then such a family should start with you. So I decided to definitely do it by the age of 30. It didn't work out, it turned out at 31 a little later. I created a lot of businesses, and in 3 of them I created and earned over 100 million rubles. These were completely different businesses. The first time, I started as a sales manager and scaled a chain of stores that sold products through TV advertising. I have 15 branches. Accordingly, I earned my first money, managed 700 employees, and bought my first real estate. And in the 2008 year, something pushed me to sell this property. I had an office in the center of Chelyabinsk with a view of the whole of Chelyabinsk. Chelyabinsk at my feet. Hello Chelyabinsk, hello Russia. I got my first $1 million in 2008 year, shortly before the crisis. I got high on my second business. And by the way, it took me 9 years. I earned the second capital faster, that is, in 6 years, I created a cottage settlement from scratch. Starting from the purchase of 20 hectares of land, divided into 125 landholdings, conducted electricity, poured paths, built houses, and sold the land extent. That is, I earned over 100 million rubles on this. So it's faster not in 9 years, but in 6. And my third business was not like either the first or the second. I heard an insider from Donald Trump a few years ago, long ago in the 2015 year. He said that he was asked how to become a millionaire. He said at the age of 30. If you find a good promising network company starting out, make a career in it, learn how to negotiate, learn how to communicate, make deals, acquire connections, enter the millionaire's environment, and become a millionaire's dollar. I heard it, made a career in 3 years, created a network of 103,000 people, and earned my first crypt for $1 million in 3 years. The first time is 9 years old, the second time is 6, the third is 3. I analyzed what I did each time in a different business. I followed the same strategy. I packed this strategy into a mini-book, which I give to every person who watches this video to the end, and give the opportunity to apply the winner's strategy in any business, absolutely in any business, and get the result. What is it about? If you are surrounded by 5 friends, and they are all millionaires, then you will become the 6th. If 5 of your closest friends are drinking beer, complaining, making excuses, being lazy, then they doubt everything, and prefer to stay in this pit, yes, where they are now, then you will be there, they will pull you. That is, how to change your environment. That is, people who strive for something, they get new knowledge, they enjoy life, they unite in some kind of collectives. Here you need to move yourself to where there is a concentrate of these people, that is, to get new knowledge. And these are networking, these are conferences, these are mini trainings, where such people concentrate and attract. You will attract the people you need, reach a new level, and new opportunities will open up for you. So, gradually, step by step, you will surround yourself with those 5 millionaires and become the 6th. This is just one of the principles of the winner's strategy. In total, there are 8 principles of the winner's strategy in my mini-book. They are very simple. I give each of you this book, and it will lead you to success and help you become a millionaire. Let your family begin with you. Your rich family.
Ваша семья начинается вот именно с вас, ваша богатая семья.
A wonderful insider, and I'm just thrilled, just wanted to add. Let your family begin its journey with an acquaintance with Dmitry Razumovsky. In general, for the last 5 years, I have been using cryptocurrency. I earn money in it, I spend it with cryptocurrency. I pay even utility bills or kindergarten for a child, hotels, flights. I make any purchases for myself. I buy clothes. In general, it's easy. In other words, it's easy in the modern world. If you are afraid of this, then you are falling behind. In other words, the trend is going past you. If you are ready to receive knowledge, I am ready to share it. I have a lot of life hacks and gifts for you. Great presentation. My friends, now we have a unique opportunity to listen to an insider from Yuri Khvan, please. Yes, hello to everyone. It really resonates with what Dmitry just said. Yes, everyone has their own way of becoming, and I also support him in the sense that in order to become a rich, well-off person, it is not necessary to have oil deposits in the garden there, or rich parents, as many people think so, or some kind of connections. I myself am from Sakhalin. There is such an exotic island in the Far East, and I spent my entire childhood in a barrack. That is, my mother and I lived in a barrack. We didn't even have a shower in our house. We went to the factory shower room to wash there once a week, and I remember this childhood until the age of 17. Because at the age of 17, I wanted to escape to the mainland. Is the dream of any islander to escape to the mainland. And then I remember, the money was only enough for one side to fly to the city of Novosibirsk. I entered the institute at the age of 17. I flew away, but of course, it was also a test for me. Because to escape from a small town to some big city, and of course I missed my homeland. But this passion is to become independent. As my mother always told me, study, get an education, and everything is then in your life will settle down. I didn't want to let my mom down, and that's why I studied hard, but it was the dashing 90s. And I understood that in order not to ask my mom for money, I had to earn extra money, and cars, unloading cars. Is there some kind of buy-sell the first ones, when in the 90s it just started trading, sneakers, Mars cigarettes there. Although I have not smoked all my life, but I have been doing this, and this is my formation was combining study with work, with a part-time job. So after the institute, I did not go to work in my specialty, because I myself am a physicist by education. I like the profession itself, but at that time I had to provide for my family. That's why I was so lucky, you know, I think, and that's how Dima became a dollar millionaire. I also became a dollar millionaire for 24 years. I started supplying coal from Kuzbast to the test of the city of Novosibirsk. But I wasn't ready for such money then, because in the first year I received $3 million of net income from supplies. Well, to put it so simply, of course, this money turned my head, and I didn't have any mentors. I don't really like myself at that time, because, well, I had such an unusual experience, I wasted money. But although you probably know, in every person's life, I would like him to experience this feeling when you are doing well with money. And live on a lot of money, so that later you understand that the goal is not money at all. Yes, that is, money is just a tool, and at some stage I realized that probably this ability to earn money is more in our heads. Well, naturally, 5 years later I was bankrupt there. My business was squeezed out, almost killed. And this was also a kind of test for me. I was depressed for a long time in general. Familiar. Yes, yes it is. And at that moment of despair, I was looking for myself, of course, in something. And I went and got a job in a holding company. I have never worked for hire, but I had to, because bandits threaten the debt to Kuzbas. There is a very long history there. And I started doing startups. In other words, I had a position as a startup manager in the holding. And in 5 years, using my coal connections, which I acquired during deliveries, I very quickly rose to the level of deputy director in the holding. Well, as in any, work for hire, you never belong to yourself. So you're working for someone. To be honest, I don't know a single person who got rich, works for someone. And after 5 years, I got a little stronger again, and again quit the holding, and went back to entrepreneurship. And that's how Dima said about cryptocurrency. 2015 year, I encountered Bitcoin for the first time. Then the guys and I flew to the cryptocurrency convention. For me, it was some kind of swear word. I didn't understand at all why it was needed, with what it cost me then. The Chinese offered me $600, but I refused this idea. I realized later that it was in vain. And so the cryptocurrency was gradually entering my life then, and already in the 2018 year, I also made $1 million on cryptocurrency. In other words, we had an educational platform there. Everything was paid in the crypt. We also scaled through network marketing, and I organized a large structure, not only in Russia and the CIS, but also abroad, and attracted teachers and everything. And then we went out a cue ball, to cue balls a day of income. That's why I like this story, until it went into drawdown. Well, of course, when it was already there at the end of the year, it had already sunk it all. I told all the guys, well, it didn't work out, yes, let's move on. And starting already before the pandemic in the 20th year, I have, I remembered such a movie Avatar where here is a wheelchair user, yes, that is, he got some new lifestyle, reincarnation for himself, through the Avatar's body. He became integral in this film, and found a family, a whole legacy. And now, soon there will be a third series. I will be happy to watch it. And then I had a kind of thought that why not give people with disabilities to be holistic? Yes, and then I began to invest, to study the viart of the development of augmented reality, so that any person. There are millions of such people who are deprived of something today. That is, they are in some kind of clamped state. Perhaps they do not leave the house. Through VR technologies, they will be able to travel, communicate, find friends, well, that is, get on par with healthy people. And this idea captured me, and then I came up with a name consonant with the movie Avatars, and we started creating this project. And that's probably my previous experience and knowledge in cryptocurrencies allowed me to create a platform that will not only, study, explore VR technologies, yes, but also do it all on the blockchain. That is, for it to be a global project, naturally a cryptocurrency. Because I, too, like you, use it with pleasure. Yuri, have you already accumulated questions? Yes, please. You said you made a career in 5 years. Here is an insider for our viewers from you how to quickly make a career, how to advance, grow. I also made a career from a sales manager. I sold well. I had 500 personal sales a year. That is, 500 personal sales a year for 2 years. That is, I know how to sell, and, well, I teach it easily. Well, that's how I grew up to be the head of the sales department, then to the head of the office in Samara, and then to the head of 5 offices, and then I opened my business after Kiyosaki's book, How Does Rich Dad Teach, and Not Teach the Poor. I read it and immediately quit 2 months later from a cool position, where I manage 5 offices of about 150 people there. I have an income of $10,000 under my command. But I quit after this book. In other words, it was the peak of my career. That's it, I didn't make a career anymore. I only worked for myself. Here's how to make a career quickly. In general, money can collapse very quickly. Many people are just not ready for big money, and they themselves, that is, they have money in our head. That is, not in your pocket, not in your wallet. And here, probably, is what you got. This is the insight that you got after reading this book. Because we are gaining experience up to some stage. In general, I would offer all young people to experiment today, get into different jobs in order to test themselves, and try in the spirit of an entrepreneur if you created it yourself. In other words, the earlier you start an entrepreneurial career, the more you have a streak that ordinary people who go to work for hire do not have. Because it means that you have the ability to take risks, yes, the ability to see what others do not see, that is, some kind of insiders appear at the moment when you start doing something. And in 5 years, in order to make a successful career for yourself, it is necessary to work for yourself first, and work on yourself second. Because if you don't change your brains, then everything is useless. With the old stereotypical thinking, it's impossible to do this. I was hooked by what you said. You came as a manager, having debts, having some obligations, having pressure. You still came somewhere, got a job, and there in 5 years, you scattered all the debts, closed all the obligations, reached some kind of managerial level, and then left anyway, and he created his own business. These 5 years, you've been out of this one. Very. Got out of this situation. I want to say that you look at your surroundings. If there are guys in your environment, entrepreneurs who lead, well, a slightly different lifestyle, and you are an employee for hire, you will envy them because they are free people. Yes, they may have some problems with business, because as far as traditional business is concerned, there are a lot of risks and all that. But this is the degree of freedom that you will constantly get into your head and say, but what are you worse than him? You work, you may be a good top manager, but you will never make masterpieces out of your life. And I have this experience of what I have done before and earned a lot of money. You know, it's like getting on a bike and going one day and not riding for a long time. And anyway, you'll then get on and ride this bike. That is, the skill that is acquired, and it is at the level of cells. It becomes your gut. And when I was already employed, this entrepreneurial spirit was boiling in me. It allowed me to become a successful top employee. Because I launched a lot of startups in Novosibirsk who know me personally, which still give crazy profits. And then, when I reach the peak, and there, you know, holding, everything is beautiful. There are family ties, everything. I'm not a relative. I'll always be in the second position. And I'm not used to being in the second position. You know, this is my training since childhood in sports. Being the first winner always strives. By the way, this is also a very important principle. We must live in this state, friends. I am absolutely sure that there are moments of success in your lives too. You have to live in this state. Remember this state and experience this success every day and look for those opportunities when you will experience the same feeling. And when I reached the peak, I realized that everything, you need to break away, you need to become a dollar millionaire again, because you will never become one for hire. Well, that's why I went free swimming again. I have this question for both of you at once. the profession of the future, the business of the future. What is waiting for people in general in the near future, and what should they be ready for? This is how they should react to what you tell them now, so that they realize that the time is now such that they need to build up some potentials as quickly as possible, or reveal, in order to be in the trend of events that are coming in the near future. What is the nearest future? The crypt appears. It is already a natural environment today, where there is communication of business and all kinds of benefits that a person receives. An avatar that today can free a person so that he gets more freedom. And then what should he do? Why should he immediately turn to you, after hearing you, quickly catch up, to be really at the table of joy, not sadness? Well, I have golden principles on how to make a career quickly, and it doesn't matter if it was 20 years ago, or it will be in 20 years. Everything is extremely simple. So, I worked for a year 7 days a week from 9 to 9. That is, I was motivated during this period by the fact that I do it in order to never do it again. That was my motivation. I do this in order to become financially free. And I didn't come at 9, but at 8:30. And then absolutely all the clients who called before 9 or contacted the company before 9 were my clients. That is, everyone comes to work in the office, and I already have 2 or 3 sales. That is, I have already made a daily plan. But I do not go home at 8 or 9. That is, everyone leaves, and the head too, but I'm not there yet. But because someone is there at 9:30 does not have time. And he also applies, he needs a service. And then, realizing that you can always rely on me, the manager begins to add or delegate some things to me. I'm not asking for money for this, I'm just helping my mentor, the manager, to do something a little more, and he starts telling me. And I'm going to stay for the weekend instead of me. Of course. I'm going to leave 2 hours earlier. You'll stay in my place, of course. That is, I always gave more than I received salaries, and very quickly, that is, I became a deputy, every time I was noticed further. Because I bring something new, that is, there are such employees, that is, you ask them to do something, they once did half as if, or did not finish it, but they did exactly that much as they asked. And there are those who have done twice as much, and also said, but it's possible like this, and I see here, that it can be done better. Yes, of course it's better. In other words, take the initiative, do more. This very quickly gives an impetus to growth and further independence. Dmitry, people are listening to you now, and they are asking what should we do to be more, how should we turn? Why should we turn to Dmitry Razumovsky in order to be in the trend of new upcoming events? And then look at the trends. Trump has launched the green light for cryptocurrencies. Many countries already have a government. Whole countries accept cryptocurrencies. American pension funds are already allowed to them. That is, part of the capital of 2 or 3% to invest in cryptocurrencies. There are about $150 trillion in the market, in the global economic market. There are 4 cryptocurrencies in the market today, 4, where the amount fluctuates in the trillion. From the global economy, at least 2 or 3% will come to the cryptocurrency market. This will mean X2, X3 and 4, and for some individual cryptocurrencies X10, X50 and 100. That is, such and 10. This is growth in a very short time. That is, rapid growth in a very short time. X10 means out of $1,000 there will be $10,000, or out of $1,000 there will be $100,000. That is, someone misses these opportunities and believes that it's not the time there, it hasn't come yet, or it's impossible. However, a few months ago, the Moscow International Currency Exchange launched trading with a pot at 4 bitcoins.
спотовым ETF на биткоины.
Accordingly, already qualified investors from 6 million rubles can still buy, sell officially, legally, completely, on the official exchange on the state. In other words, it is also coming to our country, all over the world. They come to us, a digital ruble is being developed, then there will be a crypto ruble. In other words, this is a trend, this is a global trend, when big money goes into exactly this narrow neck, into this market. And you can either pass by, yes, and then after a while, you will hear stories about how someone got rich. Or you can already come to those people who use cryptocurrency on a daily basis in life. For example, forgive my author's course Crypto Firma 2Z, as from a state when you are afraid of cryptocurrencies, to come to the fact that it is easy, simple and convenient in all your life, and it gives you a lot of new opportunities. In other words, everything starts not tomorrow, but today, right now, from the moment of making a decision that yes, I want, yes, I need it. Fine. But what about us? Yes, I probably agree with Dmitry 100%, because the crypt is a new currency, one can say, a new century. And those who have not yet studied this blockchain technology do not study, but do not use the crypt at all. They certainly lag behind. I would like to add that his ability to achieve results really resonates with me, because on an intuitive level, I also did this. That's when you told me that you came early, stayed later. I did the same holding. That's how it works. That's right. By the way, guys, if you are working somewhere in your places now, I would do this. Then I didn't understand at all what it was. It worked intuitively, probably. And now there is a justification for this. In other words, it is emotional intelligence, which is considered more predominant today than over. That is, if you have emotional intelligence, it's a team game, it's interaction, it's an opportunity to feel, well, support. The manager, when he sees in you that you seem to be doing things even without talking, that is, you feel it on such an emotional level, it is considered a priority today. You will be evaluated. Your salary will be increased, you will be brought to a better position, and you need to work on yourself. That is, develop this emotional intelligence for yourself. And as for the cryptocurrency of the future, the fact that the world is being digitized, I would also add, study neural networks, because artificial intelligence is not only a trend of our time today, but it is a very cool assistant. And I want to say that you have 2 years of friends for this. So if you want to become a dollar millionaire and generally break out into people and make a fortune, then use artificial intelligence. The entire global business will be digitized for 2 years of life. The entire global business is through neural networks, through artificial intelligence. Today, study, take courses, try. Apply not only in business, but also in the personal sphere and in everyday life, will also be useful to you. Therefore, neural networks. Let me ask you a clarifying question here. An ordinary student who listens to you today, or a person who is in the office, working, or at an enterprise, listening to you, he asks himself the question, but today what should I do in order not to connect to a neural network, as you say, yes, to be all the same tomorrow a sought-after specialist? In what area will he succeed if he concentrates his attention on this field? But the areas, they are changing a lot, and the professions are changing because artificial intelligence. Well, I'm going to give a small example. Let's say a taxi driver. Yes, here he is a man who drives a so-called steering wheel today. Yes, here he is driving. But we understand that autopilot is already approaching, and Tesla is demonstrating this. So, a person will sooner or later, he will get out of the car and where? All processes are automated as much as possible. Globalization is going on not only the countries of the continents, as if globalization is going on with robotics. And therefore, of course, a lot of professions will be released now, and a person will only have to be engaged in creativity. Therefore, if you start practicing earlier, even studying neural networks for your practice, then you will still be in demand for some period of time. Creating prompts, let's say, images somewhere. Well, in other words, this is your creativity, which you can already put into practice and monetize today. But let's say I created avatars, that is, this is some kind of platform where avatars of the whole world will meet. It doesn't matter what country of the world you are in. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you are, what skin color you have. And we have already filed monetization there. In other words, we have already created it, let's say, for people who are absolutely without a profession, without anything. They can join our platform and start earning. We are now launching an element of augmented reality. That is, it will be a game mechanic where anyone, even a teenager, can go in and start digitizing his world in which he lives. Get out of the house, digitize your house, approach, complete a task, find some tower, see some artifact, get coins for it. Immediately go to the supermarket and cash out these coins by purchasing some goods. In other words, we have already launched this game mechanics, and there we have our own loyalty system that pays out in the crypt. That is, we have filed the BEN by blockchain there, and that is in Tezera, a person can earn, withdraw either through the exchange or through a card, also come to the store and be served. In other words, we have already come up with this for those people to try themselves in this. And I believe that today these elements of entrepreneurship, they will be the last in the bastion of private entrepreneurship in general. Because it's easy to create some kind of shawarma on the corner today, or open some other business, but there are no guarantees that you will come out in a plus at all. Yuri, I have a millionaire taxi driver. He lives in Estonia. So, yes, that is, he found himself in such a situation that there is no money, he was fired from work, business debts ended, and nothing but being a taxi driver today. Well, he did not find it, respectively. He understood that he had 10% of the time where he could do something else. That is, well, you need to close everything, payments, apartment, loans, debts, but he can find 10% of the time. And he decided to develop partner programs, that is, online. In other words, this is access to internet business on all continents, in all languages. And it remains only to find some worthy direction for yourself, that is, an ordinary taxi driver has one phone hanging on a torpedo where there is a navigator. He's got two hanging. My friend had two hanging at that time. So on one navigator, on the second one, there were just videos. He can't impose on his passengers and offer them something. He's not allowed to talk at all. He's just asking, do you mind if I watch the video? And as a rule, he was answered no, I don't mind. And in the background, he had a selection of 10 videos on his second phone, with a demonstration of the possibilities, business opportunities of online business, and some passengers asked him, what is this? And why is that? What's this about? I mean, what is it? What are you watching? And then he had a reason to answer the question. He can't sell himself, but if asked, he can tell. And this is about this. And so he got clients when he was doing what he always does. For today, this person is the head of the crypto exchange, that is, the acting one, that is, with income there, well, clearly, as if he has money in order, but well, he has passed such a stage. An effective approach. Yes. And even more so, this one who is a passenger is going, he will not escape. Taxi he needs to get to the point. That's right. Well, you see, his entrepreneurial mind still created such a very interesting projection. If you still go into the future, but in 5 years, who do you see yourself? And what will it be around you? Of course, based on the business that you are currently implementing. That anyone, of course, as a dreamer, any entrepreneur should be a dreamer. At least it is necessary to swing at the moon in order to jump over the fence. But I think that in 5 years, of course, there will be new technologies, artificial intelligence will prevail, blockchain technologies. All these trends, which perhaps not everyone understands today, but if we take them as the bulk, they only observe. We will become part of this story. Therefore, in 5 years, globalization, as it were, will not only be business, but also, as it would be the unification of countries, there will still be no such geographical barrier, you know. I think that with the help of artificial intelligence, we will be able to communicate in different languages of the world, but feel comfortable, because translators will automatically be voice assistants, avatars, digital images, that is, everyone can digitize themselves, and, let's say, make an assistant to themselves. Well, that is, I sleep there. It's like in the movie you know about Ciro Eskin. What progress has been achieved? Robots work hard. Not a person. That is, you are resting, leading your own lifestyle, and your avatar performs all the functionality for you. Being an entrepreneur, or some kind of coach, yes, trainings. I mean, please, you can broadcast 24/7. That is, after 5 years, I see it here. All right. What does Dmitry Razumovsky Yuri see in addition to artificial intelligence? I have 16 videos coming out on social networks today, and 16 tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. And so on for 30 days. That is, more than 400 videos. I mean, well, I'm talking to you. Yes, we're talking here. Yes, that is. And this process is underway. In other words, artificial intelligence does it. Please comment. With a digitized avatar, it means transmitting my thoughts, transmitting the content of my book, that is, transmitting my experience. Yes, that is, he does not invent anything. He just does something instead of me that I don't have time for. Here. And what are we creating in the future? I am creating a new generation crypto bank. That is, the number of clients has doubled in the last quarter. That is, today we have clients from 50 countries of the world. There are not many of them yet, 50,000, but the goal is 50 million. Accordingly, these are new opportunities. That is, these are cross-border payments. This is an opportunity to pay for your goods and services anywhere in the world. This is an opportunity to travel without being tied to any country and without any restrictions of the usual banking. This gives exactly the crypto solution to CryptoBank. This is an opportunity to make crypto loans, receive in the bank, the opportunity to receive overdrafts for VIP clients. This is when you pay for airfare or hotels. You don't have enough $500 there, but you pay anyway. You get deducted from the card in a minus, and then you close it. In other words, these and many other opportunities have now generally opened up a blue ocean. As they say, there is a free niche. And we go into it, we enter with 2 legs. The next performance at the Crypto Summit on the 24th, 25th of September in Moscow. We will present our product there, and everyone who will be there will have the opportunity to create their own crypto bank in 2 weeks. If you want to create your own crypto bank in 2 weeks, ask me how. And today, we have 27 such partners in different countries of the world. These are Turkey, Thailand, America, Europe, Brazil, Mexico, Germany, that is, Russia, that is, any absolutely countries. Joining the franchise allow us to scale. We enable our franchisee, our partner, our branch to earn 2 or 3 times more than we do. Thus, the business becomes profitable for our franchisee. Yes, and accordingly, we are growing very fast. In other words, our goal is to create not only a global international crypto bank and leave it as a legacy, as a company that will continue to work. But my goal is also, because I am a builder, I have such a burning craving for construction, that is, I have already created a village here for 125 landholdings in the Chelyabinsk region, that is, I want to create a new city, a city of the future, in which a person lives harmoniously with nature. Where a person has integrated into nature, where she communicates, where everyone has a lot of land, a lot of space. Everything is eco-friendly. This requires huge capital, that is, these are global goals, we will reach them. Therefore, to whom it responds, we will earn more together than individually unambiguously. In general, it's great. I just didn't know what it was going to be about before I came here, and now I clearly understand that probably these meetings are not accidental. I think that our partners of avatars will be the first customers of your bank. And perhaps some of them will even become franchisees, because we are also creating, well, such guides or keepers in different parts of the world who are able to do crypto exchanges. Because, well, there are few people today who can immediately understand how to change the crypt to fiat and how to withdraw it in reverse. That's why we have such partners, well, mostly young people, of course, who are holding their noses to the wind today, and understand that the crypt is a great future. And here I am, I'm just interested in the CryptoBank model. It would be very interesting for our metaverse, because we have each partner, he creates his own digitized metaverse. Naturally, in order to have a convenient payment system, we will need a crypto bank. That's why I think that probably we will talk to you after the broadcast. Yuri, well, we still have 50,000 customers today. Tomorrow it's 100, the day after tomorrow it's 5 million, then 50. And our customers are always interested in something innovative, breakthrough, inspiring, something that is trending. We can simply integrate your offer, your product into the existing ecosystem, and we can, I say, we can definitely strengthen each other. Of course, with the right approach. I think that today is the era of collaboration, the era of unification. As I say, strong minds are converging. And we also have to gain about 100 million users by the end of next year, and unite more than 100 countries around the world in our metaverse. But we have a slightly different approach. But if, let's say, there is a complete immersion of Wire in Roblox, yes, then I am like the father of my children. I am against it. That is, on the contrary, I want to get them out of computers, and so that they live a full, rich life. And with the help of Wire technologies, they expand the boundaries of the real world, our physical world. Because if they are sitting in these computers, this is scoliosis, this is vision loss, this is degradation, as it were. But there will be development here. And here are those old ones, you know, are hardening from childhood, where we are there on hikes, then gatherings, in competitions. And sports was culture, so I am for it so that children today develop and physically develop and mentally develop, as it were, and have pocket money. That's what three combinations are. It's wonderful that such an interesting turn is about to happen. If we are starting from modern technologies today, then modern technology today allows our conversation to be translated into almost all languages of the world. And here's what you would say today if it was an American audience, say, or an audience that is not only overseas, but also in Japan, that addressed you now. What they would have to hear from you in order for the calls to come from these continents. Dmitry. Well, together we are a force. But if a person responds to development, growth, constantly be in the trend, and create a new future, then together there are simply limitless opportunities for us.
И именно создавать новое будущее, то вместе для нас открываются просто безграничные возможности.
In other words, now it's time to unite and create useful things together. What has already been done and tested here, it is still unknown there.
Оно еще неизвестно там.
And what has been done there and tested, but is still unknown here.
здесь.
Exchange
Обмен,
always gives
всегда
explosive
дает,
growth to both
взрывной
partners, both sides.
обоим партнерам,
Therefore,
обоим
in the
сторонам.
unity of
Поэтому
power,
в единстве
1
силы
plus
1
1
плюс
is
1
not
это
2.
не 2.
This,
Это,
as
как
our great
сказал,
scientist
наш
said,
великий
is
ученый,
11.
это 11.
That is,
То есть
1
1
plus
плюс
1
1
is
это
11.
11.
The
Потенциал
potential
возрастает
increases
кратно.
multiple
Поэтому
times,
пришло
so it's
время
time to unite.
объединяться.
This is my
Вот
message to our
мой
foreign
посыл
colleagues,
нашим
Yuri
иностранным
Khvan.
коллегам.
Юрий Хван.
Yes,
Да,
I'm
я
probably
тоже,
for
наверное,
unification
за
too, because
объединение,
we are weak
потому что
individually,
поодиночке
no
не
matter how
смогли,
talented we are there in our endeavors.
талантливыми там,
I would wish
в
everyone,
своих
let's say
начинаниях.
generations and everyone,
Я бы
no matter
пожелал
what
бы
continent we
всем,
are on, just to
допустим,
start working on
поколениям,
ourselves.
всем,
Because this is the quantum
неважно, на
leap of
каком
transition.
континенте мы с вами находимся, просто начать работать над собой, потому что это и есть вот тот квантовый скачок перехода.
That
То есть
is,
работать
work
над
on your
своими
habits,
привычками,
work on your daily
работать над своим
routine,
распорядком
discipline
дня,
yourself a
немножко себя
little.
дисциплинировать.
Well,
Ну, то
that
есть
is,
мы же
we are
все,
all
по сути,
essentially so
такие
lazy,
ленивые,
and I suggest that
и
you simply
я
improve the
вам
quality of
предлагаю
your
просто
laziness.
повысить
Yes.
качество своей лени,
Start traveling there,
начать
also
путешествовать,
enjoy it.
тоже получать от этого удовольствие.
And these are
И
necessarily
обязательно
goals,
это цели,
because
потому
goals
что
are
цели
the
это
engine of
двигатель
everything
вообще
in
всего,
general,
потому что
because if you go with the
если ты
flow,
плывешь по
then
течению,
maybe you
то,
will live a
возможно,
good,
ты
decent
проживешь
life.
хорошую, достойную жизнь,
But you
но
definitely won't make a
шедевра ты точно не
masterpiece out of your
сделаешь
life.
в своей жизни.
But if you
Но
are
если ты будешь
purposeful, if you are serious in
целеустремленным,
your
если ты
intentions,
будешь
and
серьезным в
start
своих
looking at your
намерениях
time management,
и
daily
начнешь
routine,
смотреть над своим тайм-менеджментом, распорядком дня,
that
то
is,
есть как
how to
распределить свое
allocate your
время
time
грамотно,
competently, as
как
it is
сегодня
today,
на
what
чем
to focus on,
сфокусироваться, не
not
заниматься
to
там
engage in
посторонними
extraneous
какими-то
affairs.
делами,
Remove harmful habits,
пагубные
replace them
привычки
with better
убрать,
ones,
заменить их
personal
более
development
лучшими,
with
там,
growth, study
личностное
trends.
развитие, рост, там,
Try yourself
изучение
in various
трендов, там,
parts of
пробовать себя
entrepreneurship,
в различных
take risks
там
in something,
частях
study new
предпринимательства,
technologies.
рисковать,
Then I
да, там
think
в чем-то,
that
изучать
everything will grow
новые
together,
технологии, то я думаю,
everything
что
will work
все
out, and you will
срастется, все
find, so
получится,
to
и
speak,
ты
your way
нащупаешь,
and
так скажем,
achieve what
свой
you
путь
want.
и достигнешь того, чего ты хочешь.
Yuri, tell
Скажите,
me,
если
and
вам
if you
все-таки
still made this jump
вы
and
совершили
jumped
бы
to
этот
the
прыжок и
moon,
допрыгнули
what kind
бы
of
до
business would
Луны,
you carry out
какой
there?
бы бизнес бы там осуществили?
Yes, I probably
Да,
would not have
наверное,
stopped
на
there.
этом бы не
I would have
остановился
set new
бы,
goals.
ставил бы
That
новые
is,
цели.
we would be looking
Искали
for
бы
a new
новые
point.
точки.
All right.
Хорошо, друзья, у
Friends,
нас
our
время
time is
подходит
coming to an
сейчас
end
к
now,
концу,
but this
но
is
это
just the
только
beginning of
начало
a long
большого
journey.
пути. У
You
вас
have
есть
3
по 3
minutes
минуты у
each to
каждого
address
для
the
того, чтобы
audience.
обратиться к аудитории.
Dmitry,
Дмитрий.
the next time we meet is on the Rodina TV
Мы в следующий
channel
раз
in order to
встречаемся
invest, to give a message,
уже
to
на
give energy
канале
for the
Родина,
country in
для
which
того,
we
чтобы
live, in order to do something useful for all of us, that is,
вложиться,
all of us who watch
дать
this
посыл, дать
broadcast,
энергию
and everyone who lives in Russia.
для
These
той
are
страны, в
wonderful,
которой мы
worthy,
живем,
successful people. So we
для
will
того,
share
чтобы
our
сделать
insiders with
что-то
you.
полезное именно для всех нас, то есть все мы, вот кто смотрит этот эфир и все, кто живет в России, это прекрасные, достойные, успешные люди. Поэтому будем делиться с вами своими инсайтами.
And for
Для
those
тех,
who
кому
respond to what I
откликается
say
то,
and what I do,
что
you
я
can
говорю, то,
subscribe
что
to
я
my
делаю.
social networks.
Можете
You can get a
подписаться
gift from me,
на мои
a mini
социальные
book
сети,
winner's
можете
strategy.
получить от меня
You can
подарок
take my
на
author's
книгу
course,
«Стратегия
Cryptofirma to
путеводителя».
Z.
Можете
And
пройти
together we will
авторский
do more
курс
than
«Крипта от А до
individually.
Я», и вместе мы сделаем больше, чем по отдельности.
Therefore,
Поэтому
welcome,
добро
see you
пожаловать, до
again.
новых встреч.
Yura. Yes,
Да,
friends,
друзья,
you know,
знаете,
I'm
вот
also
я
writing a
тоже
book right now. It's so
сейчас
funny.
пишу книгу, так забавно.
Previously,
Раньше
I would
я
not
бы
have
не
started at
приступил
this
бы
point,
к
but with the
этому
help of
моменту,
neural
но
networks,
с помощью
it became quite
нейросетей это
accessible.
стало
And I began to
достаточно
compose
доступно.
songs through a neural
Песенки
network.
стал сочинять через нейросети.
Amazing
Удивительно,
transformations
сейчас
are taking
происходит
place now.
трансформация
Even
даже
in
в
my
моей
personal
личной
life,
жизни.
the book will be released somewhere in a
Книга
couple of
выпустится
months,
где-то через
a vaccination
пару
against the
месяцев,
crisis.
прививка от кризиса.
That is,
То есть я
I
там
also share my
делюсь своими
insiders there,
инсайтами,
which I received
которые
at
я
one
в свое время
time,
получил,
and
и
this
это
helped
мне
me
помогло
and
и
was
пригодилось
useful
в
in my
жизни.
life. So, well,
Поэтому,
what would I like to
что
advise
бы я
you?
хотел вам посоветовать?
In
Вы
principle,
можете, в
you can
принципе,
search
поискать
for
аватаров,
avatars,
потому
because
что
now the avatars
часто
project
про эти
has
аватары
already been
уже
written in the mail.
написано, в
Less
Mail.ru
than
про
Earl
нас
Greater
написали,
then
есть
wrote an
статьи в
article about
Mail.ru,
us where they
подробно
talk in
рассказывают
detail
о том,
about what
чем
we
мы
do,
занимаемся,
what
какими
kind of developments.
разработками.
We also
Также
perform on
мы выступаем
television.
на телевидении.
Therefore,
Поэтому
find an
найдите в
avatar in
своем
your environment
окружении
who is
аватара,
already on the
который уже
platform,
находится на
and
платформе,
ask how
и
to knock on
попросите,
this new
как
metaverse. And
постучаться
perhaps
в
a
эту новую
completely new digital
метавселенную,
world
и,
will open
возможно,
for
для вас
you.
откроется
Therefore, Therefore,
новым
friends,
цифровой
get
мир.
in touch with the
Поэтому,
digital
друзья,
world in a completely
соприкасайтесь с
new
цифровым
way.
миром совершенно по-новому.
Take action.
Действуйте.
Good luck.
Удачи!
Well, it's on such a kind note that I conclude our broadcast, and I want to address you directly now. Each of them, and Dmitry and Yuri, have a unique potential that allows you, if you come into contact with them, to develop your unique capabilities that necessarily exist around you. Each of you takes the first step to make a deal directly, the so-called one that Yuri Khvan is talking about. Just trust and start interacting with each of them, and you will definitely succeed. Avatars are what creates the future, already in the present. Crypt is what ensures the monetization of your success. And all this, combined, allows you to find that long-awaited creative freedom. Yuri Gold and Dmitry Razumovsky and Yuri Khvan A were on the air with you. See you soon. Moscow Education in the studio. Thank you, friends. It's perfectly simple. Avatar.